Hands.
Guys, just remember that when we go to cuts to the budget.
I'm trying to entertain, but now 8 more minutes.
That's awesome.
So that, and that's what they.
Yeah. Thanks. I'll tell you the story. The guy has a big golden wing pot, he's still on every night, I don't know what. Everybody on watch?
It's 17:15.
It's early. It's not a big agenda. Yeah.
That's a really big episode.
Today is Monday, March 24th, 2025. I'd like to open the regularly scheduled meeting of the Allenstown, New Hampshire Board of Selectmen at 5:58 p.m. To start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board members present this evening.
Kathleen Palacia. Diana Lopez. Laura Lambert.
Before we go any further, congratulations, ladies.
Thank you. Welcome.
You know, it was a lot of hard work. You made me a token. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited for the board. You have 4 really smart ladies.
Thank you.
You better say that, you're outnumbered. Smart man.
So I'm taking the roll. Scott McDonald,
John Harrington,
also present in the room with us this evening.
Chad Pelletier, road agent.
Armin Verville,
Allison Turcott, resident.
Keith Foss, School Board, Zoning Board.
Eric Lambert, Fire Chief.
Run that off for EDC and whatever.
My National Building Inspector, Code Enforcement.
And last
Mike
but
Frasnell.
Mike
They just entered the building.
Anybody online with us this evening? No. All right. We do have our second public hearing this evening, but before we do that, let's do a quick business meeting and do our elections and our appointments to committees. So. Before we start, I've got a year left. I've been lucky enough to do this for a few years now. I know we have a new board, but I've got a year left. I don't think I'm gonna continue this. 6 years would be long enough. We need some people. I'm not sure if that was the campaign speech, but I just. So.
I'd like to nominate Scott McDonald for chair. Second the nomination. Any other nominations or self-nominations for the chair?
Be scared. All in favor?
Trish and I. Kathleen and I. Diana I. Laura I.
Thank you. Need
I'm willing to step into that role. Nobody else. Should I be nominated or what? Somebody else? I'll nominate Trish Caruso. Second.
all in favor?
Trish I. Kathleen I. Diana I.
Now, boards, I know what one person here was looking to pick up, but I go by seniority. Trish, Kathleen, and I'm trying to remember.
I'm doing planning board and I'd like to stay with it because it's been a slow year. I've been learning a lot, but I don't feel like I'm just starting to really get the ropes of it, so I would hate to leave that.
It's been a slow year.
And there hasn't been that much on, but you and Mike have been wonderful.
I think this year you're gonna be busier.
Yes, yeah.
We've really seen some promising things here the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What else?
What about Maureen's role?
She was with your group, wasn't she?
Old Meeting House.
So we have budget committee, EDC, all right, here's another acronym. Oh, no, that's yeah, Allenstown Meeting House, I'm sorry. So,
I would like to do the EDC. Or I really want to get involved in the community and getting more things into the community, and I just feel like it's kind of the thing that I really thrive at, so.
I'd like to do budget and hold house on meeting house if that's not being too greedy.
Usually we're drawing straws for budget.
We can both, but at Allentown Meeting House and EDC, so,
I don't think extra
we
members
need.
are,
On budget.
um,
You've been doing, you stepped in, because
and I really haven't done anything with it because I thought I was on another committee, so. um, So Kathleen planning. EDC, Trish, you had both of those.
I've been attending EDC pretty regularly, and I was second to Kathleen on the planning.
So is there nobody for the budget committee?
Diane.
Yeah, but EDC is gonna be busy this year. We're seeing local people buy stuff.
Yeah.
Busy. So is there any issue there?
Well,
Okay.
there's nothing that says other board members can't attend.
Right,
So
yeah,
if
if
you
it's
decide
not
you
what you want,
want,
that's fine.
well, yeah, you can still.
That way I can go.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, excellent, thanks.
So could we just go over it one more
Yeah.
time?
Give him a pencil eraser.
For planning board,
That's what he means.
budget committee,
Diane,
Diane, just Diane,
yes.
okay. EDC, Trish?
Yes.
Old Allenstown. Diane. Okay, do you wanna, someone make a motion for all of those that didn't vote?
Who's where?
Make the motion. I need the motion to, put Kathleen on planning board, myself, Diane, on budget committee, Trish on EDC, and myself, Diane, on Old Allenstown Meeting House. And I have a question for EDC, so on planning board, there's you and she is the alternate, should we do the same for EDC? Put, Trish as the member and
Yeah, we can do
And,
that.
Laura as the alternate, so if you can't go, cause
Yeah,
Yeah, I would like that.
yeah, then we did, yeah. I second that motion,
All in favor?
Tricia. Kathleen, I.
Diana, Laura,
And Scott.
Thank you.
No, don't say it's, I'm just gonna say here's no. There was a time not too long ago when that money taken a long time. I'm really excited to get it. Okay, so our business meeting will suspend, recess, for the moment and, get the right RSA here. And we'll open our public meeting on the purchase of Allenstown Elementary School. Done in accordance with RSA 41:14-A1 on Monday, March 24th, 2025, 6 P.M. And I should have said that as a motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen open a public hearing on the purchase of Allenstown Elementary School in accordance with RSA 41:14-A1 at 6:07 p.m.
motion,
All in favor?
Tricia, Kathleen, I.
Diana, Laura.
Scott, aye. Questions, concerns on the purchase of Allenstown Elementary School? I hear crickets.
No, you don't. You hear me?
Mr. Adnall.
Just listening to the meeting last week, because I wasn't able to be there last 2 weeks ago. I want to first thank the Board of Selectmen for upgrading the technology. It's amazing. I was able to sit in my computer and actually hear people and get the full discussion. So thanks to John, and I know that Fire Chief was involved, and it's great. It's nice to be able to hear And I'm glad we buried the alley. So after listening to the previous meeting, I think that there's some information that wasn't discussed and some information that wasn't thoroughly explained. I know Dave Gleich and David and I have become a little bit of friends here because of him coming to EDC and stuff like that. He's a new resident in town, has some real good ideas, real good outlook on the way things should be. And I'd like to give you my take on some things that I think need to be resolved and kind of put out there so that it's on public record, so that people understand. And the first thing that was talked around taxes. What wasn't brought forward is that when we talk about taxes, and we talk about the town versus the school versus the state, et cetera, that only 33% of taxpayer bills could support the town. And what that encompasses is your 24/7 fire, EMS, police, highway, including Chad's operations, including streets, summer, winter maintenance, solid waste disposal. You've got your town hall operations, including employee benefits, town clerk, tax collector, code enforcement, and other town boards. So people need to realize that. I hope people will start listening to these meetings to understand, because I think this is where they're gonna get the facts versus maybe something not so accurate when you're looking at this on social media. So with that being said, questions were around transparency of committees and getting information out there. At the previous meetings and the previous board of selectmen, Brian and I volunteered to start a committee and be on a committee. We were appointed on that committee. We started a little bit, Brian, myself, and we had Mike Advance as our admin, start to look at this, but unfortunately, because of the kind of the confusion between the agreements, et cetera, we put it on hold. We didn't want to put the cart before the horse. So I want to make it perfectly clear from a transparency standpoint, that committee still exists, and should we move forward with this, that committee will continue. Because I think in transparency, we have a lot of smart people in this room and in this town that have a lot of value added information that can be brought forward to help with this transition and acquisition. Some of the things that could, the impacts, I would say negative impacts, Kathleen had done a great pros and cons, and some of the things that I kind of took out of that was, first of all, I gotta have a place to vote if we don't do this. We have to have a place to vote, and I think it's gonna really make townspeople very upset if they have to go out of town. People say, well, you can use the school. You gotta remember, the school is their own entity. They're the ones that say yes or no to whether or not that facility gets used or not. And we just went through that on EDC with using it for concerts, et cetera. If you wanna know more about that, you can come to the EDC meeting this Wednesday night at 6:30 here at Town Hall. So again, one of the biggest things is charter school acquisition. If this goes to a charter school, and I've done some due diligence in looking into this, we would, and I think maybe one of our school board members, Chief Claus is here tonight, that when I started looking in investigating this, you're looking at $4,000 per student for every student that moves from the public school system into a charter school. Media talk out there, and I've heard it personally, that the state under the new regime is looking to up that to $7,000 per child. And this is in perpetuity. If that goes to a charter school, it's out, we're done. So we're looking at either losing that income or having to pay that back to the state in some way, shape, or form. Charter schools are tax exempt under RSA 7223. We get no tax incentives at all. That's in perpetuity. The school indicated that they don't have funds to continue to operate that building. So again, we may be looking at additional increases to the budget if they're to put that, if that goes out to charter schools or gets sold, with the pre-K being moved to somewhere else, which is going to incur additional budget costs. So their budget is going to end up being increased because they're gonna have to find a new place to put these children, because according, and Keith can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe pre-K is mandated. It's a mandated program by the state. So there's what we have to look into, we have to look at. So if you have, say, $7,000 per child, you have 20 kids that move from the school to the private system. Looking at $140,000 that have lost revenue and or things that we have to pay back. So this current agreement that's in the works is they're going to pay us $30,000 to use that facility, which helps us to offset our cost of operation. We also looked at public access for businesses, et cetera. We have two models that are perfect for that, town of Deerfield, town of Hooksett, that we have to look at. So, and these agreements on a year-by-year basis, according to what's been said at these meetings, so. We have the option to kind of decide that as the economy dictates. But let's look at it from a long-term perspective. There's been a lot of short-term discussion, but we need to look toward the future and how we best spend or invest our funds to properly maintain our infrastructures here in town. Looking at AES, and I'm looking at the Harriman report, and I've gone through it, and so is many people in this room, the fine-tooth comb. It comes up to about $610,000 for a three-phase approach to that facility. Current trust funds are $450,000. Now, if we look at expected inflation, I looked at it and say, let's add 50% for inflation. You've got a $300,000 increase. So it brings that up to $910,000 over a period of time to phase that building in.
Ron, that's pretty generous. 50% for inflation,
Yeah, it's generous.
because that is slowing down.
Yeah, but like, this was a 2022 report. in that
And
vicinity.
I know you're trying to cover all your bases.
Right, I'm trying to cover, like, you can say more, we can say 1.5 million if you want, but to look at a new building, and I did this today, I got 2025 costs per square foot. For a commercial building of the size of that building, which is 33,641 square feet, it's $9.083 million to replace that building right now. If we cut the footprint in half, you're looking at 4.5, 4.6. Just looking at that from an asset standpoint, I put my accounting hat on now, because what's the asset down the line? The town hall is obsolete. I was involved in the original infrastructure here of putting in the computer IT system. It was done in the eighties. I think my daughter was, we had a grasshopper. It's old. I worked here as a clerk during the interim. There were multiple issues, IT issues with the infrastructure of this building, which I, with my IT experience, was able to help to resolve. That's only gonna get worse based on the wiring in this building. Also, you have issues of space needs. People come in here, and Catherine can attest to this, I came in one summer when there was the last days of taxes, people were in this room around out to the door. I had to come in and turn on the air conditioner, it was 90 degrees in here. From a privacy issue, when I was working in that office, people would come in asking for public assistance. It's embarrassing. There's no place for privacy here. And space needs. We have this floor, you can use the cellar because it's ADA, but over and above this floor, you have no ADA compliance. Nobody can go upstairs, you can't use anything for any public meetings, etc. And the security around here is so-so when you talk about, open concept and doors. So within the next 3 to 5 years, I'm saying this building will need to be replaced. Now, on the good side of it, looking at the assessments, this town hall is currently assessed at $602,000. Which, if put up for sale, I think would probably grab more in the open market right now, if it was to be marketed properly. Those fundings could be put into a fund or whatever to help to renovate that new facility. To bring it up to where it needs to be. I'm sure this project can be done in a successfully, efficiently, and timely manner. Without excess cost to the taxpayers. I think there's enough talent in this town, enough talent in this room to be able to do that efficiently. We just did it at the fire station, we got donations, etc. And that building, which was 20 years before we were able to put that together, put it together at a damn good reasonable cost. And I think that's the situation here. With the committees and the people we have, the bottom line is we need to get that facility into the hands of the town to give us the financial flexibility we need and to protect us from those certain unknowns that beyond our capabilities of having any control over.
Those were all really good points, Ron, but I just want to stress that the public hearing tonight is just for us buying the building,
Right.
not what we're gonna do with it.
Right.
So we're gonna spend time exploring, there are good points to making.
But I just wanna make sure that when people look at these meetings online, they understand, because David made a good pitch last week, and I'm kind of just adding to that pitch where he
Yeah.
kind of went off the rails a little bit too. But I want the knowledge to get out there. One of the biggest things we talk about in EDC is getting the information out there. We need to get it out there, and I think once we get it out there, I think when people will understand, they'll buy into it.
Yeah.
You go to buy something, and I look at this like I look at my own personal budget, and I've said this time after time. You look at the things where you put your money where it makes the most sense and where you make the most money for your money. And most of us know that here. I was brought up in the baby boomer run. My parents, my grandparents, they went through the depression, so we learned something a little bit different than what we might be seeing today. So I guess, and Allenstown has moved so far forward in the past few years with economic growth with Hillsborough, 25 Canal. And now Hillsborough Village, and this is out for public information because Selectmen had notified, I brought this to her when I was approached in talks with them, we went to do a presentation there, that they're looking to put another memory care facility in the town of Allenstown. They're actively in talks with some landowners to do that, which is gonna be another big tax incentive along with McDonald's. And the future of the Irving property up there. So there's big things on the horizon, and I think if the taxpayers realize that taxes are never gonna go down. We're never gonna see the cost of food go down, you're never gonna see the cost of a car go down. What we need to do is make sure that we bring in the infrastructure and the businesses to help to steady our tax base. To keep that at a baseline or a slow curve where we can maintain the services. And the essential services that you're gonna talk about tonight, they need to be here. We have 25%, when I look at the statistics, of this country are over the age of 65. Probably in this town, we're pretty close to 15%. We're looking at Hillsborough Senior Living and all that. They deserve the services. Because they're also taxpayers that need to pay rent. That's what I have to say.
Those were all very good points. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, very good points.
I'm not sure if everyone on the board knows this, I just found out today that, correct me if I'm wrong, Allenstown Aggregate is closing on the closed property.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, see, I like to go get materials, chat, and I met one of their afterwards, and I was discussing potentially somebody would buy it, and he's like, no, I bought it, closing 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, that's good, so,
And I confirmed that to my source, so.
So does that mean the asset
So
company?
people in the planning board and EDC, you're gonna be busy.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just really quick, we're still on public hearing for the school, right?
Yeah.
I was
And
seeing
just
if
as
that
a
related
point of
to-
clarification with Mr. Alvin Alpha, pre-K is not mandated in the state of New Hampshire. It gets no state funding, however, it's raised through property taxes or grants, and I believe that's pretty much what our pre-K is gone through, is I'm pretty sure it's almost all grants. And that the $30,000 in rent, could be negotiated again if the town chooses to go ahead and does move forward in buying that building, they can renegotiate with the district. And I would encourage them to, as there's really no other place for pre-K without really pushing it out to Epsom or Chichester. And making families or kids, the statistics show if they can get into a pre-K, things are going better and better and better. And as a side note, and I know I just said we're still in public hearing, but they've reintroduced cursive into the grade schools, and our Allenstown Community School is like 80% of where they're at. They're like above the mark for the country for learning cursive in the grade schools right now. So I don't remember the exact figures, but we would encourage hopefully the town will move forward in purchasing these two schools, because as Mr. Aldenolfo said, if it does go into a charter school, it's going to lose money and taxes are going to have to rise to go ahead and support the schools, because if public choice goes through, I should say, let's re-clarify that. If the Republican Congress and stuff gets what they want to and it goes through, and they say, well, Allenstown School District, you now have to go ahead and pay for Betsy to go to that charter school. that's money that comes right out of our budget. Well, there's already fixed costs. We already know it costs X amount to be in that school. You take 10 kids out, that doesn't lower the cost of operating, it actually raises the cost. It stays the same, but it raises the cost per student, so it's really gonna affect if either of those two schools go to a charter school, it's really gonna affect our school budget, which is gonna affect the taxes greatly.
And I think back to the kindergarten issue, what you may have been thinking of, Ron, is that I do believe some of those students are special needs. And so in that case, if we didn't offer that pre-K program, we would still be
Right.
required by law to pay to send those.
Well,
students to
another member
pre-K.
told me that it was kind of,
Yeah, I think
required,
that's what
so-
you were thinking of with
yeah,
required.
I was given misinformation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when you start.
Hold on. This is Mr. Keith Claus
Thank you.
speaking and
Sorry.
speaking for the last several minutes.
When you get into those finite aspects of what's mandated and what's not mandated, right? It's still a little bit confusing to me as far as exactly what it is, but from what I can tell, I do not believe pre-K is mandated right now, so.
Any other information or questions? What do you like to share? Thank you.
I don't have anything, and if the board has any, or anybody else has any questions that I might be able to go ahead and answer, I'd be happy to, but I can't think of any other information that I'd like to pass on.
The board is clearly in favor of buying the buildings, that's why we have the purchase and sale, but we had to go through these 2 public hearings to hear the public's input, but again, it's just on us purchasing them, we're not making a decision on what we're going to do with the building right now. We're just looking for the town to say, yes, we're in agreement, please buy these buildings from the school. And then once, hopefully, there's still things that could pop up, it's still not a guarantee at that point. But if we're able to move forward, then we do intend to explore all avenues to really make sure that we're making the best decision on what we ultimately do with the buildings.
And for point of clarification, I noticed on the agenda, it says Allenstown Elementary School, public hearing for Allenstown Elementary School. Is that only for the Allenstown Elementary School?
Yeah.
So what about ARD then?
Right now, that is being considered between the school and the church, and then the charter schools would have next refusal, church doesn't go.
We put forth an offer so that it would,
Yes, right.
so that
But
it would
there's a
trigger the
process.
church's first right of refusal.
Correct.
But we're waiting for that before we hold the public hearings to find out if we're even gonna be able.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's probably where you're confused, you're like, wait, I
Well,
thought.
because I thought it was both
Yeah.
schools,
Yeah.
because I know some other stuff going on that I don't think is public knowledge about different things, so I was like, I thought it was both schools, but okay, that makes sense now, thank you.
So we may get there.
Yeah,
depending on what
So regarding ARD, is that the time frame for the church to make a decision? Is that expired yet, or are we approaching that?
It was on or about March 22nd, but I have an update for the board later.
Oh,
this
okay.
evening.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the public or the board on it?
Mike Frassinella, I would just like to stress that although the purpose of this hearing is to decide whether to buy this AES. You don't make a decision like that unless you know what you're gonna do. That's an important part of any purchase. You don't go buy a pickup truck, you say, oh, I just like the color. You're gonna use it for something. So the purpose is to turn it into something useful for the town.
Like, we're trying to make the decision just on the purchase because time is of the essence right now. In order to decide what we're gonna do with the building, we really need time to do our due diligence. There's a lot of research that hasn't been done.
You have to have in advance an idea that you're buying it. Reason not buying it in a vacuum.
Well,
You
I
have to be
think
all
the
fair
primary
purpose.
reason is to see if the school cost, if we don't purchase it, then the school could be really dealt with having to pay money to the state that they don't wanna pay.
And it's
So we're
going
trying
on
to
for the charter
alleviate that.
school, but if we buy it, we do have money to maintain the building while we do our due diligence, while we look at all aspects and take our time without rushing into a project of that magnitude, unaware of what impact it is gonna have on the taxpayers.
And understand too is that if the town doesn't buy, let's just say the town for whatever reason, right? And yes, sir.
Your name, sir?
I'm sorry, Keith Kloss.
Thank you.
Um,
You have to identify yourself as a transcript.
I apologize. If the town doesn't purchase it and no charter school wants it and the school ends up selling that, whatever the school sells it for has to go back to the state. So
Was that
if
confirmed? Because we had heard from a couple different entities.
the last I heard, because I was in those meetings with those different entities, the last I heard was, yes, that was the way, but again, you know, I don't think any of us would really honestly know until the school sold the building and then the state either had their hand out or didn't have their hand out, right? So I'm only going by the last I heard was that would be the case. So if the town bought it and sold it and flipped it, then the town has money to either, you know, lower taxes or build a town garage or buy, you know, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's more benefits, if the town, and this isn't new, this isn't something to Mr. Fresnel's point, this isn't something that was decided on in the last 2 months. This is something that's been talked about probably since the last 2 or 3 years, since the school got the vote to build the school, is what would the town, you know, do with the buildings, how would it be? So there's been lots of discussion on and off, and I know this is a different board, it's a different town administrator, but it's not like it's just all of a sudden popping up, we're like, oh, what are we gonna go ahead and do? And yes, I know a lot of people that buy vehicles based on color, not what they might need it for.
Environment, an economic environment right now where the town has been tasked with using the default budget, those different factors play into these decisions, you know, I think, right, have things moved forward back when this was first brought up. But at the very beginning, it was considered that the town was only gonna flip it. That was the initial decision, yeah, so it has gone through many iterations since then.
Anything else that we haven't covered? Hearing none, I'll close this public meeting. To consider the purchase of Allenstown Elementary School at 6:30 p.m. I didn't do that right, of course. I moved that we close our public meeting, this hearing, excuse me, to discuss the purchase of Allenstown Elementary School at 6:30 p.m.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Trish,
Kathleen, I.
Diana,
Laura, I.
Scott, aye. All right, citizens' comments this evening. No comments? Go ahead, Mike Fastenella.
Press out. After a little bit of negotiating, the EDC has received permission to use the new community school for its first concert. It was a slight cost of about $265 that they proposed for the cost of their custodians to cover the floor in the gym, as they did with the deliberative session to protect the floor, and for their time on site. We also got an agreement to allow bands to play in the gym, and the parent teachers organization is going to be providing a food concession as a way of raising funds for their organization. They're also, one of my members had some cornhole boards put together, which they gave to the school children and they painted them. So part of the event is going to be the cornhole games for the kids. We're also going to have someone on the PTO that's going to be doing face painting, and good weather. We're going to have 3-on-3 basketball outside of the playground. The fire department hopefully will provide an engine, show and tell for the kids, and we also received word that the police department will be there. And for added attraction, the PTO is organizing their annual bike rodeo sponsored by the police department to teach kids bicycle safety, and that'll be happening that morning. Concert in the afternoon, so it will be our first ever all-day community event.
Nice.
Great.
Mike, I do have a question for you. Besides the cost for, the setup at the school itself, I hear that you're planning maybe a battle of the bands, but I also know in the past our concerts included a fee towards bands that were playing. So can
That's
you
still
speak
a
little bit about
tentative, that's a tentative event that's not scheduled until August. We're still trying to find if there are
Bands that are interested.
teenage bands at the high school that want to be involved in this event.
Do you know what the cost would be for the band at this particular event?
We're at this point, we're trying to feel out whether or not they play for free. And maybe just have a contest participated in by the audience to vote, first, second, third best band, and maybe we'll have a gift certificate according to those.
That's for the battle of the bands,
Yeah.
correct? So for this first concert that will be held at the school, are you hiring a band for that? For this
Yeah,
first?
that band is gonna cost us $500. And then we've got the fee to pay the school, and there'll probably be a cost of maybe $150, because we have to make up brand new yard signs that we used to put around town. Because now it's a different venue. And so typically, these are costs that we always incur. Last year, it's a fairly good trade-off, because last year we had to pay for a porta potty. I hope that people didn't mind having to use that instead of a real bathroom. And we also had to pay the cook, didn't make enough money in sales. We had to backfill so that he was adequately paid. With doing it at the school, the greatest benefit is it's rain or shine. We have the event indoors. We don't have to worry about the weather. There's bathrooms, we don't have to worry about renting a porta potty. We've got PTO cooking the food, so we don't have that as an expense. So it's a much better situation than anything we've done in the past.
I just wanna say I love that event and I'm rooting for it, but we also have to be mindful of the default budget that we're, tasked with. And making sure that, those kind of costs stay within the budget that's been set for the university.
So I know we had a budget that was established for the EDC, so I'm not sure what you plan to do with that budget as part of, dealing with the default budget. So whatever, if there's a reduction in our budget, then we have just a reduction in events.
Mike, any other citizens' comments? Okay, there being none, we'll go right to our regular agenda. And I know Chad and Eric had worked up some numbers, helping to meet our default budget.
wanna go first?
Yeah.
Eric Lambert, Fire Chief. So I sent over a proposal to John, for you guys to look over, with the default budget. And obviously planned way ahead for this one because I had the same feeling that we were gonna go there. So you'll notice, a letter, and I spoke with Rita at length of the process of how to do this the correct way. So, and it does mirror what other towns do around us right now for the regular budget, so it's something we'll probably stick to in the future too, if we do this, but, there's a proposal to put forward, the default difference was about $130,000, for the year. So with the funds that came from Pembroke, along with our building revenue, which I will tell you, we're doing very well right now. I'm proposing to move $32,625 each quarter, to meet the difference of the budget. To make sure we can stay in operation, of what we're doing. That does include, obviously, with the default budget, some of the things that we'll scrutinize more than normal, but, that helps us stay afloat and keeps us where we need to be. So, and that's it for that. And then I'll give you an update on a couple other things. I'm not sure if you want to discuss that first.
I saw what you had sent in here. It seems to me like that would be a good plan. I'm glad to know that you discussed it with Rita. My question is, your operations, I know you said you'll take a look and you know, try to be a little leaner with spending moving forward. But we've approved a couple things in recent months. Going this route, taking this money out of the revolving fund, do you anticipate that you'll be able to operate pretty much the same way that you've been proposing? You'll still be on track for the training facility,
Yep.
Your staffing levels?
So I put together, and I did, John and I talked about this, I have a projection through the end of 2026. And I actually planned for, we go to a default budget next year. So the funds are in there with the separation, with the building revenue, which I was very conservative about, which, and I'll talk about two house bills that are going through right now, actually three of them that could affect us, but when I planned the budget, I was in the back of my mind, so we'll be good for at least till the end of 2026 with the funds we have in there, what we're collecting and billing revenue. To the point where I think we'll be ahead of schedule, but I don't want to make any false promises, but I don't know what the number's gonna be, but just looking at the projections is, even at the end of 2 years, we'll still have a $200,000 balance in that revolving fund.
And that is just depending on your revenues, your revolving fund,
Yeah.
what will be allotted by the default budget. It's not including any grants on the anticipated
Nope.
grant.
No, so the only thing I did not factor in there, because it's an unknown right now, is whatever revenue we're gonna take in from the training grounds, like I can tell you it's gonna be 10,000, but it could be 50. And that's one of those things I actually have a meeting with the state tomorrow at 2:00. As we get rolling with this, that revenue from that, and I've actually been reached out to by two southern departments past Manchester that said, holy cow, you guys gonna do this? We don't have to go to Concord anymore, we can come to you. So I foresee it kind of taking off, but I don't make any false promises until I see the proof and put it, so. But I don't, with that expenditure there, with the revenues we took in and what we're gonna take in for billing revenue, I think we'll be okay.
Well, I really appreciate your advanced planning. I know that's tough to do when there are so many unknowns, but.
So yes, that we'll be good.
Question, may I ask, how does the fire department training ground create revenue?
So what happens right now with firemen is an outside class that pays for the rental of some gear, pays for the rental of space. We have some training props that we built on our own, the association built and the town built, that they use, that the association, we didn't know, is an entity that fundraises and stuff like that to offset some of the costs of the town. So a lot of that stuff has been donated to the town. So when he uses that equipment, he rents it, just like he would rent from the fire academy and a training facility. If we build the training facility, any town that uses it has to pay for the burn operator to be there, but then they also pay for the maintenance and everything else. So as you move along, the average income for the training grounds is somewhat more than what it costs to run it, so that cost always comes in. And essentially, and I'll be honest with you guys, like, we decided to do this a month ago. There's already been invoices for $12,000, and that doesn't include the donation from the association firemen towards the training grounds. So we're already recouped 12,000 that within 2 months. So that'll be coming in.
Quick reminder, please don't casual conversation, start your statement with your name.
Like Brett,
Okay.
that's Mike.
That was Mike Fasenella who asked that question, yes, but
So I apologize. So that's where I'm at with that. A couple of quick updates before Chad starts. One big thing that we should all be paying attention to. John sent me some information and I knew about this ahead of time, is House Bill 316 is due to go forward next month or this month. Along with House Bill 245, the first deals with the government trying to change billing rates. So yeah, we can bill people for non-transport incidents, but it goes back to the taxpayer and it will reduce potentially our ambulance billing revenue by 30%. The counteraction to that is House Bill 245 that was proposed, which makes insurance companies actually pay their fair share. And it sounds like 245 is favored, but I know with the change in regime that they are looking at it very closely about which one's going to be the best options. I did sign on to the survey or the petition to squash House Bill 316. And I would encourage, and this is only my perspective, to you guys to read it and go through it, because in the semantics of the bill, they're trying to make it look like that we're going to gain, but we're not. We're going to lose a lot. So House Bill 245 is the one that is supported by most every fire department, ambulance entity in the state, and there's been a big survey that has been completed about ground transport over the past year and a half that was presented at the Academy 2 weeks ago that said, don't do 316. You need to do House Bill 245.
So we have made our position known before on other bills. Could we do that? Would the board be okay with authorizing?
So, and I have a petition that was forwarded to me from John, and you can enter your names in as individuals and or as a representative saying that you oppose House Bill 316.
So for my view is I would prefer to know about these before we come into the meeting, be able to read on it and fully understand what's planned voting on.
Oh.
So I would not want to vote on this today.
Well, and
Whether we are or not supporting something.
I'm already familiar with it because I had talked with other entities.
And I said that as an individual, if you can individually sign this petition if you read it and agree with it. It's been forwarded to me, but that's the prerogative of the board, but I just
That's true.
would encourage you guys to read it because it could potentially hurt the town if it goes through.
And that's true of any bill.
And to add to it, Chad, if you sign up with NHMA.
I know, there's so many
They-
bills out there,
But they bullet
inundated.
point, I forward them to Eric all the time,
Yeah.
you know, they bullet point each one and what they are and whether or not. So I just kind of cruise through them and see which ones are gonna affect us.
Yeah, and I get inundated with them daily just in my job, but when they're important to you. And you want our support, it was beneficial to me to know about them before coming into this game.
Do you know when they're voting on?
I want to say it's either the end of this month or the second week of April. I know usually New Hampshire Fire Chief will ramp up when it's getting close. And I got his email today, which I had, but I got 2 more on top of it from 2 other entities saying, please come support House Bill 245 because we don't want them to pass. So I can get that date that if you'd like, and I can send it to John.
To go in support of 245?
Yes, that is my plan. So. Other small things, met with Chad today, training boxes will hopefully be delivered Saturday. And they've been working on the groundwork, it's moving very quickly. And like I said, I had other towns that went off, some of the people reached out already, but just on word saying that they want to get out of the academy, Manchester and whatnot, so that's going. Hopefully our ambulance will be delivered tomorrow, they had an issue with some service shop stuff, so that'll be hopefully in tomorrow. Fire med will be coming in tomorrow to sign the paperwork for his, to move one for another once we get one in and the other one goes away, so that way we can actually not have to store 2. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to give you guys an update, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to stand in opposition of the bill, John, could you send us the petition? And we could
Yeah.
sign it, would you be okay with
Yeah.
people signing individually? And if the vote has not taken place at our next meeting, we feel that we want to take a unified position one way or the other. Is the rest of the board okay with that?
Hi, Allison Durcott. On that bill for 316, is that gonna be a public meeting for the committee in the House?
It's been approved by it's been moved to the House floor.
Okay, so the petition isn't gonna make any difference.
We get information if you may have. Some stuff we'll try.
Remember, it's the public meeting for the committee. The House, and then after the voted on in the House, it'll go to the Senate, they'll have a public meeting too.
Okay. I'll get the stuff that John had sent over, but
We're in this process, is it appropriate to send our,
If we've missed the House, we would want to send it to the Senate.
I just wanna bring it to attention and try to help you guys out.
all right.
Thank you.
No, that's why I was asking him.
And they'll have it should be online saying when it's gonna happen.
yeah, that's what I'm looking, because I got the petition from
So-
John, I did sign for it, so I'm looking.
These 5 bills, House Senate So members are encouraged to contact the House members before their Wednesday, Thursday session, and senators before their Thursday session. So,
And if you follow the and it'll tell you the dates for when each bill is going to be. Alright.
Alice and Turcott, but it's nice to get them in the committee, because in the ones in the committee, let's see how many's against it, how many's for it.
Yeah.
And you can knock it out then, or pass it,
Yeah, it might be idea.
and you can call, like Chad said, it wouldn't hurt.
Thank you. Are you gonna speak?
yeah,
I forget.
Um,
Long in the line, so.
But before I do that, this is in regards to what the Chief Lambert wants to do in the upcoming year. Start to do the our budget. And we already discussed this. I moved that the town treasurer be instructed to transfer $32,625 even quarterly from the emergency services revolving fund to the town's general fund for the purposes of offsetting the fire department 2025 operational budget for the expenses listed above.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
I do have a question before we go to that. So I'm wondering if, we wanna wait to hear all the departments' presentations about what they're doing to address the default budget, to see if, there's other areas that things need to be shifted from department to department, that kind of thing, that does sometimes happen, depending on what each department is needing.
I think we're definitely gonna need more cuts, Trish, I get what you're saying. But I think he doesn't have the time to wait, I think we need to get the ball rolling on this, and there may be additional things that his department needs to do. But I feel like we're gonna end up doing
I
that's what we
agree,
do, so
yeah.
might as well get the ball rolling, but
Yeah.
keep going down that avenue, cause
Yeah.
hard work ahead.
Yeah. I agree, I just wanted to bring that idea to light so that,
Yeah,
as a board, we understand that those are other ways in which we can be looking at this.
yeah, and that there's, we need more.
Yeah.
I give it your second.
Trisha,
Kathleen, I.
Diana, Laura.
Scott. All right, sorry. Thanks.
That's
Sorry, Chad.
So. John put all this in your packet, we kind of finalized it today with a call with Casella at 2:30, so. We didn't have the opportunity to really get it out to you sooner, but. Time is kind of at the essence, or, we really need to move. If we're gonna do something in the trash room, we burn about $1,100 a day. Under our current contract. So every day that takes by, Saturday, Sunday included, we burn, it's just not working days, it costs us. Between $1,000 and $1,100 days to have trash here. So if we're gonna change something in this, the sooner we do it, the better effect we can have and the less effect we'll have on other areas in the budget. So that being said, there's, we kind of came up with 6 different options and most of them were suggested by either board members or John or even Mark O'Bear had a couple ideas with some.
Can I just ask you, Chad, to lead with the option that is your preference?
Okay,
I'd just like to know.
so I was tasked with this 11 years ago, when we started the contract with Casella. At that point, I thought our best option at that point, and I brought it to the Board of Selectmen. Okay. I thought at that point in time, our best option was pay to throw. It was, it's in more than 30 communities in the state of New Hampshire, it's working most of them. And I think
Is this option 4?
that's option 4, yes. I think the thing with pay to throw, if we do it right, we set up a revolving fund so that we can use the money to offset the curbside and trash collection. It gives us the best chance to pass a budget in future years. Because we can absorb any increases, we can absorb any of that by changing bag prices, we can, we kind of move forward with it that way. And hopefully not change the service. The other thing I like about pay to throw is the user fee. I think trash should be a user fee. I think, I'll pick on Armin, if Armin uses one bag a week. But, and his house is valued at 400,000 and I use 5 bags a week in my house. He's paying for my trash.
Yeah.
It's flat out, that's why we pay for, you bring a couch, you bring a refrigerator, you bring any of that stuff and you pay for it, it's because. We don't feel, or we've never felt that it was right for me to pay for Armin's or Armin to pay for me or anybody else's. So that's the kind of the highlights with the or the benefits, I should say, of pay to throw. The disadvantages or the cost obviously is not an advantage to the homeowners. But that being said, I think you'll see some of the larger, the people with larger families go the dumpster route or change, and that's pretty typical. Concord, they lost over 40% of their trash when they went pay to throw. Because people found other avenues.
Contracted with private
They,
companies.
with private companies, if they had large amount,
Yes, at least.
and I think it even goes down to, you have a dumpster at work and you bring it back at work and throw it in the dumpster, it's stuff like that, but as long as.
Places don't like that.
But-
We're not encouraging that.
No, but as long as we don't, if we don't have to, it's less for us, everything that we don't handle is less. The pay to throw option also has us purchasing a packer and going down that road and
So
getting
you
back.
would still continue to do curbside pickup, for people would still
Yeah.
have what I consider to be a luxury, a lot of towns don't have trash pickup.
So if you look at. There's so many new options, if you look at option three is basically. Curbside pickup in town, but no curbside pickup in town. So everybody would have to go to the transfer station, if you look at the actual budgets and how they play out, it's not a huge savings. And it really puts a stranglehold on the highway department staff. Right now Allison does all the work. We have to bring in 2 more people. So we have to, obviously, we can't hire 2 new ones, so we'd have to remove them from the highway end of
And you'd
things.
be paying to sell it from in more.
We probably, right now, dumpsters are full at the end of the week.
Just, excuse me, Allison Turcott, just last Saturday, I pounded all the dumpsters down 3 times.
So the dumpsters by Thursday are bright stuff full. That we typically handle about 3.5 tons of trash and about 1.5 tons of recycling a week at the transfer station. We pick up 12.5 ton curbside a week. So if all that went to the transfer station, we'd probably have to have them empty 3 more times. Right now, it runs us about $30,000 a year to have them serviced once a week. So
The advantage of the packer is that as you're picking that trash up, you're able.
we're packing it and we can take it and we can, we'll drop it. We'll drop it probably at Casella, I would assume, at this point.
I have a question when you're done speaking,
Sure.
Allison Turcott. We also get a lot of furniture in,
Yeah.
like bureaus and stuff. So if we're not gonna throw that in there, I don't know how you're planning on to take.
We'll
care of that.
probably run a packer again.
For furniture?
We're gonna have the packer out there all the time.
Or we throw it all in the pit and we have it packed on Monday morning. So,
Allison Turcott, but Saturday that pit overflow.
yep. We'll build a bigger pit or we'll run the packer all day.
Could we stop taking furniture
furniture? Or
There are other items that we don't take.
No, we could send everybody to Concord, that's an option, we found that out today.
Allison, Turcott, I think maybe these bureaus coming in could be charged.
And increase the fees.
We don't
And
charge,
that's-
we don't charge for bureaus, we don't charge for rugs.
Yeah, there's a lot that we could be being and increasing on, you know,
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a large amount per item.
And that,
That spreads the cost over everybody that might bring that there, not just the taxpayers, you know, because we have renters who use those services as well.
the fee schedule is put together, and I put it together, that's on, we figured we'd get through this portion before we
Yeah.
attack
So,
the fees.
But you are planning on it.
Yeah, we're below, Pembroke. Right now, in a lot of areas, so we probably come up to match, at least match Pembroke. So,
Question, Allison Turcott? I don't know what size that big dumpster is for the furniture,
30 yards.
I filled it just Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
just Saturday.
As far as, if you look at it, there's an on option for, there's a range. As far as revenue would go, that range is depending on whether you go anywhere between $3 and $5 a bag. So it's actually the range, the low end is 3, the upper end is $5 per bag for a 30-gallon bag.
That's the leaf size?
30 gallons,
Yeah.
it's the bigger bag.
17.
So I think most kitchen bags are between 15 and 17. So that's an option as well, you can go, a lot of the communities offer both bags. And it's usually like, I think Concord's like $3.20 for the 30-gallon, and they're like $2.10 or something like that for the 15.
Yeah, I looked it up.
So
They take their furniture to Concord?
they can take their furniture to Concord if you'd like. Yeah,
Just wondering, how, and I know this is a tough one, say we went with option 4,
yeah.
how long would it take you to gear up?
My numbers are. Everything that I put together on every option, those savings numbers say that we start this option July 1st. So we have to move quickly. That's why I'm pushing to move quickly.
Ron, you got any questions?
Another thing we had
Ron
talked about.
Adolfo?
Ron Adolfo, we had talked about the dump stickers, and they're coming out, they're gonna be used in conjunction with the boat landing. What about charging $25 for a dump sticker?
Some communities do.
And that way there, and we also talked about possibly putting 30 of them out there for other, like next town over. We'll give you $100. You want a sticker to go to launch over here in Allenstown? $100.
So you're talking about the boat ramp.
For the boat ramp, so you use a dump sticker for that as well, and then just cut the dump sticker like they do at Pembroke Academy, so the kids don't park in the wrong parking spots. And that brings some revenue in, may add a little bit revenue to the revolving fund for the town and help him with maintenance of the boat launch. I think people would pay it.
Hi, Brian Austin. I'd like to inform the board that the town of Alton charges $2 for a 2-year dump pass for that ticket. Wolfboro is 1 year for $10. The community in Massachusetts charges $750. And their transfer station is immaculate. People are there to help you unload your car, so it's really the Cadillac up there.
Yeah.
So you pay $750 a year.
That's, I don't think that's. No way.
But I think, I mean, we looked at a few of the other communities, and I don't remember, Epping or Raymond, they're $40 for a sticker. So some of the communities do charge for stickers.
Yeah.
You know, but at this point, everybody going to the transfer station and dropping something off with, in options would have to do in a bag.
Yeah.
This option continues to us recycling, the way we recycle now and not paying for recycling at all. That's something that you guys would, you know, you'd be tasked to decide if that's what you truly wanna do, or if you wanna and recycling, if you wanna, whatever,
So
you know.
with option 4, which, is option 2 plus, right?
Yeah,
What's the cost of the equipment that you need to get?
so if you're looking on. So the packers, we have options, I would go with the refurb packer because it's a 2-year wait for a packer at this point. So we'd be 2 years out, if you look at option 4. We took, I'd say I took it out of the line, but I just left it there out of the collection portion of the line. We need $23,000 for dumpsters because they're gonna take them away. So we have 2 of the old dumpsters remaining, and we need to outfit the other, we'll need another additional 10. And my thought with 10 is that one will go to, the new school. Because we service them, and if we're doing a pack a week, if you guys wanna continue to service them. That's completely up to you, but that was figured in.
How much would the packer cost?
So the packer, but equipment is all, so the packer, you're looking at anywhere between, for a refurb packer, between 160 and 200,000. A new packer is 300. A one-arm bandit is 550.
And your
So-
estimation of July would include being able to purchase all of them?
Yeah, I've talked to a dozen dealers, most of them are down south, but. It would just be a matter of hashing out how much we actually wanna spend and trying to get the best bang for our buck. Some of them offer 1-year warranties, cause everything's refurb. So typically what they do is they'll take a truck that was a rider truck or something over the road that didn't have a lot of miles on it, but. And they pull the boxes off of them because rider will constantly will rotate their equipment.
So your
And they put a
projected,
new packer on the back.
your projected revenue on the low end, if we were to sell bags for $3, is $184. So the packer essentially could pay for itself within a year, while still keeping
So that,
roadside.
so that 184 to 258 is $3 to $5 a bag, and that's for the 6 months.
Oh, that's for 6 months, not for a full year.
Yes, that's for the 6 months left in this year. The problem with that revenue is that it will only be on the unassigned fund balance or the general fund or whatever it is, and we won't be able to use it because we don't have a revolving fund set up.
So another part of this would be that we have to set up.
A revolving fund come March.
And then the trash, you anticipate that the cost for the bags would then go to offset expenses incurred by the transfer station
Right.
and trash disposal.
So what if we considered option 1
Yeah,
and completely get out of the trash business?
so,
And it would follow more at the bottom of like the sewer department, right, then water and sewer. You contract, in this case, they would contract with, private garbage pickups.
Yeah.
Like
there's
they,
one here in town.
like they do, yeah, and there's one that services Raymond,
Mhm.
it's $50 a month and you can throw away up to 7 bags.
Yeah.
So if we gave people, here's the list of, 3 or 4 companies,
Mhm.
pick one, contract on your own. We completely get out of the garbage business. And, the taxes, by not absorbing that in the taxes, we have less variables and we have to have taxes there.
Sure.
And with people paying for what they throw away, kind of forces them to be a little more, aware of what they throw away, like get a compost bin. Like, some weekends bin, I bet I throw 5 pounds of scraps in there.
Yeah.
That would ordinarily be in the trash and collapse your trash. People would get more critical because they have to.
No, and there's options, there's all kinds of options, I know there's a gentleman in Epsom that picks up. It's $9 a week, he gives you one like contractor bag size or 30 gallon trash bags. So there's people out there if you wanted to go private and it can be cheap, but it can be. It can be the people that don't hire out that have to go to Concord.
Yeah.
Concord, if you bring one bag that size, it's $25.
then they probably would contract.
It's just- it's 20
with the
it's-
company.
It's $25 if you bring one or you bring 208 pounds. So between 1 and 2, 208 is $25, and then it's by the pound after that.
Are you able to confirm if
We can
all
go to contract.
neighborhoods are able to contract together with a private company and get a reduced rate?
I would
Be
not
up to
even be
them.
involved,
You could
yeah,
probably get everybody on the street together.
yeah,
Package deal.
that would be a totally private entity, I would not get involved in.
Because if.
No,
we
you
don't-
know that happened.
I don't,
Heard of it, but I
Yeah.
never really known it.
So Chad, option one, your savings here, but it starts, it looks like you lumped in a reduction in paving.
every one
Oh,
of these options, every one of these options, and that's why he was so drastic in some of them. The cost difference or the savings difference, every one of these options reduces paving by $170,000 this year, which is a complete line. And it also reduces the stormwater engineering. We were supposed to do, last year, we were supposed to do a basically, it's part of the MS4 is they would like each town to go through, look at all the town-owned properties and figure out how they could reduce runoff from rain.
I just have a quick question. So when Eric was taking a look at his budget, he came up with these numbers because he was trying to have his department spend what their portion of the default budget would be. Is that what your reductions are based on? Are you getting to what your default budget for your department?
No, I
would
think,
have been, or you think
Beyond.
I think we're beyond that. But I think it's somewhere, looking at the budget, somewhere we have to get beyond that. You know, I don't think just reducing us or each budget to the default is gonna get us there. I mean, just because insurances and personnel costs and whatnot are so high. So my thought process behind doing this is, and that's why I went up to 2026 with all these budgets, was because I would like to pass a budget next year. I don't want to be, you know what I mean, and if we can make a change and reduce something or change the direction of how we do something. And get us closer to that default number. So that we can next year, without a huge hardship, you know, pass a budget and move on life as usual.
So why do you prefer option 4 over option 1?
Because I think option 4 is sustainable for years to come. I think option 1 is, option 1 is a total blow up of what we do. You know, which I mean saves money. Or probably saves more money in the long run. But I think option 4 allows us to continue to provide a service to the residents that they've been accustomed to. It's just a different way of paying.
But you'd use your current staff, right?
I would,
So what if we have situations where trash needs to be picked up and we have a snowstorm?
we've had those, I mean, so. Everybody who remembers, I mean, prior to 10 years ago, we picked up trash every week. So if the storm's bad, we always left it and picked it the next day. If it was a 2-inch storm or a day like today, we took trash. So it's one of those it was more of a day by day basis and it just. Sometimes people miss the trash truck and some people, because we were out there and they didn't put out the trash in the snowstorm, and sometimes we didn't. And it sat out there for a day and we came across it the next day.
So if we have a breakdown of the trash truck. Is there like a contract with the
So typically,
owner or something?
in the past, when we had any issues with the truck, we would, Pembroke would help us. And vice versa. So I think for the last 4 years that we had a trash truck, I picked the day, I drove a trash truck for Pembroke. Our truck for Pembroke the day after Thanksgiving. If Pembroke's truck went down, they needed help, we would help them obviously if we weren't picking that day and vice versa. Pembroke's always had 2 trucks at least, so. It was a little bit easier for them to help us than it was for us to help them.
Okay. And I think you had also mentioned. That people would have to buy a certain trash can because you
So,
guys don't wanna pick up.
yeah, so the toter, what we have now is called a toter. I don't know, I guess it's the company that makes them, but it's that style. The trash truck that I would be looking at would be a rear load truck, it would not be the one arm bandit that you see go around.
Right,
If you go into the North Country, up Bear Brook, I think most of them are picked up with rear loaders up there. So what they do is they put a plate on the back of it, it grabs a can, it dumps a can, puts it back on, so the guy on the truck is only wheeling it, he's no longer dumping it.
yeah,
So if we went with option 2 or 4, or even 6, I think now. If that was the meeting, no, option 5. So 2, 4, or 5 would go, what we would ask is that, you know, we give the resident 3, 6 months, something like that, and ask them to come up with the proper coder. And they can, there's a slew of places that they can get them. You know, and I think we just have to publicize and ask them to get those coders that way. It would just, I think it would save the guys on the back of the truck. You know, I mean, on the average day, they pick,
that's what they do with Raymond, because there's a
Yeah.
special trash can.
Yeah. You know, on the average day, back in the old days, we picked 12 ton a day,
Oh, sure.
so, you know, I mean, 24,000 pounds, you know,
If it's
50,000,
backstage, 10 times the rate of normally would.
right?
So with option 4 too, did you consider doing it twice a month or every other week?
So the problem with trash in the summer is it smells. So I think you would have a huge rodent problem in this town if you stop picking up trash weekly. And people, they were trying to wait, I think in the winter you could do it, but do you really wanna do that to yourself? I mean, as a guy picking the trash, I don't wanna pick it every other week for you because it's, now I'm picking 24 times, we can't fit all that in the truck, now we can come back. You know, so there's a little bit of logistics wise, they wanted to try, Casella offered that originally to us with recyclables. You know, and trying to reduce the cost and say, we'll pick recyclables every other week, they're clean, they don't smell like trash. And it's just, but the volume of recycling, I fill up cans every week, so it wasn't an option.
Hear me out, Chad.
Sure.
I understand you want to go for option 4. If we did option 1, now we've all been reading the papers, these regrets that certain towns have
Sure.
for doing what they did to their budget and then realizing, wait a minute, I'm not getting the services. I'm guessing option number 4 would be very popular in the upcoming year if we went to option 1 now.
So well,
And you'd have more time logistically
Yeah.
to get ready for it.
I wouldn't, I guess, right, because we would cut it completely out of the budget. It wouldn't be a budget item in, you know, in 2026 because we don't want to provide it. You know, and it's. Either way, I don't have the time we should. You know, this is, you know, I talked to NRRA and they're like, this is a year project. And you kind of been thrown into it, so. We kind of had to run with what they knew and what we, you know, we were figuring. We're relying a lot on past experience, I guess, with this as opposed to trying to reinvent the wheel.
You guys be able to pick up the trash in 1 day, right?
We do 2 half days,
Oh,
so we go back to probably Tuesday, Wednesday. Like we used to this side of town Tuesday, that side of town Wednesday. We always split it, so if you didn't know, we split it Route 3. It about splits the number of houses in town, it about splits the weight in town as well. So this side of Route 3 would be Tuesday, that side of Route 3 would be Wednesday.
What do these options do for you staffing wise?
So,
Seems like option 1 may result in a decrease of staff that could potentially impact you during the plow season, but option 4, would that result in an increase in staff?
so option 1 would reduce the staff by to me, would reduce the staff by the transfer station. That one, everybody else is right now doing highway, nobody else is back there unless Allison is out. Or help is needed. So option 2 would require, we'd lose about 40 man hours a week. From the highway department. activities. Between 35 and 40.
Yeah.
We have two staff members probably on the back of the truck for those 2 half days. So 7 to 11, 7 to noon is usually what we used to pick. I'm expecting less trash now. Because if you went to a pay to throw system, there would just be less out there.
People are just gonna make changes.
Yeah, and I think there'd be more recycling at the transfer station, so I think there'd be a shift there.
So what if we did pay to throw, buy the bags, and we contract somebody with a packer to come in and pick up? And that, we don't have to buy the packer and we don't impact your guys.
So the problem with that whole thing is the best deal we found was Casella, and it doesn't save us any money this year. Because we can't use the revenue from the bags. So, I know. So that's the problem with that,
Are you concerned that you may lose staffing depending on the change that you make and the type of work that they would be now mandating?
the guys seem pretty okay with it. At this point. But I mean, I guess it's always a possibility. Always a possibility. Honestly, I would try to like the last few years with staff the back with prisoners. It worked for us in the past. We did probably 5 or 6 years of that. And it worked pretty well. On occasion, they're not available if something stupid happens up there. And but for the most part, I think we could reduce the impact on staff by using the correctionals.
Yeah, you're saying,
Yeah, so,
there's
I'm sorry.
one more question on that. With correction facility staffing, what would the cost be for that?
So
And the impact on your staffing?
typically what we did is we bought them lunch. So we gave them a $10 a day. And either brought them to the store, brought them to Subway, brought them somewhere. And they grabbed lunch. So, I mean, 2 guys, 52 weeks a year. Is pretty cheap as far as that goes. So.
So you said it would have to be Casella, the truck that picks up the trash, even if we go like a pay to throw? Does it have to be them?
They were the cheapest ones that
Oh, they were?
Yeah. One, they were the cheapest ones, 2 were in contract with them for 2.5 more years. And the other thought with anybody else picking up pay to throw is, are they checking? Can I put free, if we go with green bags, I can go on Amazon and buy green bags.
Oh,
If somebody isn't visually looking at it and they say the town balance down, then. They're green,
is that what they do? They print them?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so the price of the bags are between 22 and 30 cents, for the most part, 31 cents a bag. That's the cost for the bag, but they print down or whatever you want.
I have a quick question for John. John, have you experienced pay to throw at all in your career? Have you done any research on it that would make you lean one way or the other?
Not only when Chad has brought for information.
Eric Lambert, we lived in the city of Concord for some time. And the pay to throw, I think, in my opinion, was a pain in the butt. And to Chad's point, you could buy bags at Rite Aid. They were purple, the same color, and you could not get them on a ton of Concord. So we used to buy our bags at Rite Aid because that's where we thought we were supposed to buy them. They weren't labeled, they were just purple bags. So we lived in Epsom where, to Diane's point, we paid for our own contracted service. Watch your feet, guys. We paid for our own contracted service. And we had to go to Pittsfield to jump. Oh, I stand corrected. We had to go to Casella's and Concord to get rid of our trash. A pickup truck with trash bags was $10. That was 6 years ago. And anything bigger than that, an air conditioner or mattress was $35. I had to pay. To be honest with you, I had no problem with it. I control my own stuff. Like if I wanted an extra barrel, we paid for 3 barrels because we had 3 kids and we had to fill 3. I paid for the 3rd barrel and I didn't have to worry about the headache. So I would, in my opinion, either one works, but I have to side with Diane, which is, it's easier to let somebody else take care of it.
Okay, we're gonna have to focus on getting the job done here.
Just quick though,
Where?
I'm not
So
sure
your
how it
name
works,
is?
Chad, but does the trailer parks, we still have to pay for the trailer parks?
No.
Thank you.
Challenge her,
All right,
Listen to her.
Armin, I let everyone else talk. Go ahead. You have a question?
Yeah, real quick anyway, in the newspaper, the Concord Monitor, I think today, they were reflecting on some of the towns, how their budgets were affected and so forth. Hopkinton's remark was their biggest problem was the colored bags that they had to purchase.
Right.
And the voters threw that out.
They did. They threw it out and I got a little deeper into it and they threw it out because the town, they share a transfer station with the town of Webster. And Webster does not have pay to throw. So it was actually causing, they had said it actually caused a couple fistfights in the transfer station because
nice.
you don't have colored bags, how come you don't have colored bags, I'm paying for it, you know? So, I mean, no, I don't know that any of them satisfy everybody,
It
you
won't,
know?
people are gonna be here, but
Yeah.
that's the way it looks, they gave us a budget, we have to work with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think number one,
Number one probably implements quicker than anything else.
absolutely, because we shut it off.
Right.
You know, I mean, we'll
And
have,
it leaves us an opportunity to roll, like if a budget gets approved next year and people say, we really want trash pickup done, then we just roll back into a contract with whoever.
yeah,
No, we can't, because it won't be in the budget.
it won't,
So it
they
won't.
would have to, they
You
would
have
have,
You have to put it on the warrant article under a trust fund.
Good job.
It still will be in the budget if you take it out, but that won't be until 2026. So you can still put money aside for removal and collection
As
for
long as we're
26.
getting on people.
If you get default, it's still in there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come out just because you're not using it.
the only other really downfall with, I think, with option one would be that we would be picking up a lot of trash. Dodge Road, Iron's gonna have a new dumpster up there at his tree farm.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the end of Chester Turnpike will be that, the boat launch will be there. You know, all of those places in town will be the dumping grounds for, I mean, we have it this year. I mean, we picked up over 20 mattresses off of River Road this year. Because people just toss them, because they don't wanna pay $5 for them, dumb. I mean, we picked up trash bags off this, right down the road from the transfer station yesterday. Or this morning, they happened over the weekend sometime, somebody just threw them out in the woods. You know, by the fire hydrant, so people will, I fear that portion of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether we cut it all out or not, I think we have to, you know, looking back at it and talking a little bit, I think we have to keep some, because we're gonna do a lot of dumping.
I also have concern, I don't know what the percentage of our population is elderly on fixed income, but they will not be able to move to this option. It's gonna be a real hardship for them. And I understand, you know, they may be under the electing party, but it is something to be thinking about. If they have at least an option to have trash picked up, that will help them a lot.
And I mean, they have, if, outside of this, there's options out there for them to get it picked up, it's gonna cost them.
Sure.
But, you know, I know an elderly woman in Epsom that she's got that program, and it's $9 a week,
Yeah.
cause she puts out one bag. You know, the guy swings by and picks it up and how long he goes, so it's definitely cheaper than some of the options, but that doesn't work for everybody. You know, I can't get all my trash in one
Well,
bag.
we're not gonna have a perfect
No,
solution
No,
at all.
no,
Why not?
But
my thought behind that too is, you know, whatever we decide on, if there's information we can share with our residents about options other than what we're gonna give them, that would probably help. Use some of that.
Yeah, cause we have a bunch of residents in town that will. I mean, will pay dearly if it's $3 a bag. You know, there's residents in town that, I mean, I drive by their houses on Monday, and it's gonna cost them $100 a week. At $3 a bag. You know, but. They have lots of children and lots of.
Right, starting like the water bill and the sewer bill.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Given that we want to avoid next year what happened this year. I know it's kind of this important decision, but
That is part of taking that into consideration, it would be part of this decision, because we do something drastic that isn't liked by folks, they may decide to do more than make us stay as default, and may say, we didn't do enough.
well,
Our taxes and.
from what I see in the surrounding towns, exactly the opposite is happening. They go, whoa, we didn't know that was gonna happen.
It's true.
Well, we got the uneducated voter problem too.
Anyone ready to make a motion?
I would just like to state that at the end of the day, when we're making decisions, it's important to consider what the big picture, what are we working for? What do we want our community to look like when we're done making these decisions? And I understand that the voters are saying we can't afford any more spending. They don't want it, by going default there, they are aware that they are gonna lose services, and they, to me, they're saying they are okay with that, they cannot afford to pay. But I think if there's a way that we can provide the service and create that community that I wanna live in as close as possible, that's the avenue I would like to go, I guess. I don't wanna do something, make a huge cut to make a statement or to try to drive voters in the future to behave a certain way. I appreciate I don't blame them for voting a default budget, they're feeling taxed out of their homes. But if there's a way that we can still provide some type of trash service, and I don't know which one of these options, but just going no trash service to me seems like a really big burden to put on their shoulders, and it almost feels like punishment, like, and I just, that's not my intention. My intention is that we provide the best services we can within the bulk budget that we have, within the confines that have been placed upon us. And I don't think option one is.
It's unfortunate that Chad's budget is probably gonna take the largest hit here. It's kind of hard not to have police or fire or EMS.
Well,
I mean, but we still have to knock off $600,000, give or take a few bucks, and some folks may think it's punitive, and I know they may hear the recording here and go, oh, well, maybe they're doing that. We still have to cut that, and it's not gonna be comfortable for some folks.
Yeah, and I agree that trash pickup is a luxury. I know a lot of towns don't have that service, so I totally get that, but I just think no trash services at all in town is that's pretty extreme. I just know I'm a taxpayer that lives in this town. I wanna have some form of trash service. I do not wanna live in a town where there is no way for me to get rid of my garbage. I have to go drive to Concord. And to Trish's point, there are a lot of people in town that is gonna be a big hardship for, that may not have a pickup truck, may not have a vehicle to transport that trash. I know there's ways that they can bring in an outside agency. Again, I just feel like one of these other options, we can provide some level of service and still create a savings.
Ron, I think we've done citizens'
Just-
comments, and I let it get out of control, so.
Give me a minute and a half, because you really need to hear
At
this.
the time,
Okay, timing. I think what you need to do is make it sting. Then you need to use trust funds, and I've been trustee of trust funds for 3 years. Put it in there And if they want it, let them vote for it. If it stings them, they'll go get the ointment and put it back on. And say, okay, we'll do it. That's how you get the awareness out there. You make it sting a little, and you put in a trust fund, capital reserve, revolving, however you want to do it. Okay, this is what happened, and this is why it happened. So now if you want it back, vote here. I bet you get resolved.
I get that. My point is that I'm not trying to punish the taxpayers. I don't
No.
understand their vote, like I understand that there are.
It's a vision.
significant
They have to see, they have to be
votes.
informed, and they have to see it. And once you get stung by a bee, you don't go back to the nest.
Yeah, I'm also trying not to look at it as a punitive action, more
No, but
we
something's
need
gotta
to meet
change.
the charge that has been given to us.
Something has to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have to make this draft decision tonight. You said it needs to be acted on by July, back to like Trish said earlier, I would like to look at our other cost cutting and saving options.
Make the decision next meeting, that gives us 2 weeks to.
Yeah,
Is that-
nothing would need to
follow
be
the
here from the
different
other
threads and
departments
things.
too.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I didn't have a chance to read all of this,
No.
you guys probably didn't either, I
Yeah.
did.
No,
It's
and
a
I'm
long
just,
evening.
I'm just saying that the sooner we can do it, the easier it is
Right,
on us.
of
And
course,
we might even be able to implement it sooner and start sooner, and whatever we do, save more money. You know, so I just can't, if we're looking at trucks and we're trying to, I mean, Eric's been through the purchase portion of it, it's not a quick thing, so it takes time, it's gonna.
So even if we
Got it.
decided tonight, the logistics are gonna take time anyways.
Yeah, logistically, we're still not starting to, you know, I mean.
so in fairness to you and Eric, who are prepared tonight, maybe the other departments are, and we're gonna come in next meeting. My viewpoint is that every department needs to be looking at what they can do. Whether it be increased fees at the town clerk's office, I talked a little bit to Jackie about that. She could explore that avenue. Cutting down welfare, maybe we didn't spend as much in welfare in the last 2-3 years, and that could be reduced. You know, where else in the town can we be looking at to meet this $600,000 deficit?
Because, I mean, rough numbers, what me and Eric come up with, and if you were to pick option 4, we'll say, I mean, that's half of it.
Right.
You made it halfway there.
Halfway there. But, you know, and that may be the answer in the end, but I think that all departments should be charged with at least looking at it and saying what is possible in this department.
You're not gonna be able to reduce it all. Some of them are fixed costs,
Yeah,
point
obviously.
healthcare, to
Obviously,
be the biggest, that's $145,000.
yeah, obviously, there's some things that are contracted costs that you have to stay with.
Some of that is also a built-in COLA, which did not take effect. That's a little over $70,000. So between the healthcare and the COLA, you're almost at 200. Out of the 6, plus Chad and Eric's savings, the rest is distributed in very small amounts throughout the rest of the budget. So those are the bigger items, make the biggest impact.
I also look at those, you know, fees and so forth as being, you know, that can be carried forth into future budgets in the future.
But I think we're stuck in the same spot with the fees where they don't offset tax. Right, they go into I mean, I assume that the
Revenue
town
and
clerk, yeah, but so then the bags could offset taxes, is what you're telling me, this year. Which I don't believe that's the case.
Any revenue coming in without a place to go in a particular revolving fund goes into the revenue, which does not affect the budget, it offsets taxes. And that will take place in the fall.
I would be interested to see, since we went to default, I really liked the approach that Eric took. He looked at what his department's default number was and made that work, and I think that's the first step that all of the departments should be doing. I do realize that trash is a big thing, and that's gonna be our biggest number, and if we're looking to make up extra, it seems on its face right now in these preliminary discussions, Chad's department is this is where it's gonna take a hit. But I do think that when the voters voted to go default, we should be looking, every department should be looking at those numbers and trying to come in at that default. And then we should embark, if for whatever reason I get their insurance costs. I also really want to avoid layoffs, if at all possible. I know it may not be, but if there are ways that we can find just cheaper, more effective and efficient ways of doing things, and still be able to maintain our workforce, I'm very committed to that.
So the COLA was baked into the budget that didn't pass.
Correct. So it's currently not in place.
So how much of an impact will we lose people because not doing the COLA?
It's quite possible, but other towns are facing the same thing.
Yeah, I understand that. So being on the budget committee, like 2 years ago, we had that big increase, right? And one of the reasons was because we didn't do COLA. And we looked at that and said, you know what, we should never miss doing COLA because you're behind the 8 ball. And if things aren't any better next year, we miss it again. Now we're really behind the 8 ball and we just dug ourselves out of that hole.
I would
We
like to
did
last
last
year with the salary survey just this past year.
I was just gonna say that big increase you're referring to actually did not dig us out of the hole, because we did a salary survey after that and found out we were still underpaying. So as steep as that increase was,
So we,
of course, the way it was dispersed, it should have been dispersed differently. It was blanketed, that 8% to everybody. It's where our intention with the salary survey was looking at the individual positions that needed the bump. People that were coming in where they needed to be were left where they were at. So we did get ourselves in a good place now, and I agree with you, I don't wanna see us going backwards with that regard either. I do very firmly believe that an honest day's work deserves an honest wage.
right,
The people that.
they're paying the same price everybody else is, and they don't.
Yes, their budgets are going up, their social, their families.
Do we want to make a decision on this tonight?
I do not, I would like us to be able to review these.
I think we should.
I think we should.
I don't wanna do it tonight.
I think to give it the right amount of time and analysis, I think.
I move to table the
The
highway
next
budget
meeting.
introductions till our next meeting in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
If you guys read through it, I'm sure you'll have questions because the options are pretty general, just email them to John or email them to myself and we'll make sure everybody gets the questions and answers.
okay, how do you wanna handle so we're all gonna review
We
everything.
need a second. We
I'll
have a
second
motion.
I'm
that.
sorry.
Kathleen,
I'll cut into
those
that.
2 seconds.
All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
Laura, I.
Scott.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for keeping us on track.
you're gonna watch us.
He deserves a call.
And as far as the COLA goes, can I throw my 2 cents in on that while I'm sitting here? Right now, if you go on Indeed or if you go on any of those websites, the average CDL driver's salary in those is about 103 a year. That's what they average out. We pay our average CDL guy just over 50. That's with overtime. So I mean, GMI was at the shop 2 years ago trying to poach our guys. They were offering them $39 an hour. We pay them 24. So
Yeah.
just to get
Food for thought.
it would be really hard for them, I know insurance prices are gonna go up, it'd be really hard for them to actually make less this year because they don't give them a COLA.
Yeah, right, I agree.
I have a number for you to consider. It's 71,377. That would provide a 2.5% COLA to all staff, including insurance, retirement, and benefits.
Yeah.
$71,377.
Am I dismissed?
For now. Thank you.
Yeah.
So moving forward, John, since we have voted to wait until next meeting for this, part of reviewing this is also looking at those other stuff. Would it be possible at the next meeting to have proposals from all of the various departments that attempt to meet that default budget?
If you can.
And
I will
an
reach out to you,
explanation
yeah.
if they can't, like I do understand there may be, some departments may say, are you kidding, it's impossible, but yeah. But I would like to see that in conjunction, because if there is a way that we can maintain COLAs, that we can provide some semblance of services and some type of crash, I would prefer to go that route. But if the writing on the wall says we can't, then we can't, because at the end of the day, the voters did vote to go this default budget, but I really feel that it is on us to try to make sure that we are doing it in a way that provides our community, keeps our community looking how we want it to begin with that end result.
Just point for you, John, when you do that number for the 71,000, I did factor the COLA stuff into the revolving fund transfer stuff, so I'm not sure if it affects your number to make it a little bit lower. But that was something I factored when I did it, but I can come see you tomorrow to give the numbers.
Okay, so the number we voted on earlier tonight for your revolving
Potentially
fund,
could be a little
that's
lower.
2.5% COLA
It was the original, when we had set it up, it was the steps that for each individual that deserved it, plus the 2.5, so.
So steps plus COLA. Versus just COLA. So that 71's gonna be less, because I'm fired about.
Essentially. And
I'm
that's,
sorry for everything. Yeah.
work out the details. So at our next meeting, we'll review this, we'll be able to review the budget proposals from all the departments, in their attempt to meet what will be their default budget as best they can. And I think we'll be in a better position to make a decision.
Do you want that from me as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm way under, at this point, I'm way under, you know.
Well, you're looking like you're going way over. Oh, you're cutting way more.
Right, that's why I'm way under.
Budget would be under.
So.
Yeah. But to my point, with you doing those numbers, if the PD comes back, if this administration comes back, if people are able to get close enough, then maybe we determine we don't need as steep of a cut here, that we can offer some type of trash service instead of going to, no, you get nothing.
Next subject. Town treasurer. We all have the description.
I liked the job description, I reviewed it more thoroughly and everything looked like it was there that I was looking for.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
We need to get it down. Absolutely.
Hi, Allison.
Able to fix it. I'll do this next meeting. Let me explain to you, Trish and Kathleen, if we try to do something. We had sort of an emergency, we couldn't pay our bills because we can't charge you money. So, Diane was in town and we knew exactly where it was, so pointed, I'm sure you've seen this, we pointed Jackie.
Sam.
Was that because
For
Carol
30
didn't
days.
respond?
She didn't respond right, fortunately, and we had bills today. But when she did respond, we talked about it. Said, we want everyone to take coming as we continue to start from the same place. So whether that would have made a difference, I don't know. But yes, John did call her, she didn't respond right. That's why.
Oh, I was just wondering, because we had discussed it at the previous meeting, I was just wondering, well, why did something happen that?
And how, what was that time frame that we needed her to, yeah, so, yeah, in the bird, she hadn't
Get her in
Right,
there,
but
somebody
It
fine.
was right, yeah, it was right around this time, so.
That makes sense. But in the future, I definitely do wanna be notified.
notified, yeah.
So before we go too far, next meeting is going to be the police chief interviews. So I would bump the treasurer interviews out to the 21st.
Is Jackie doing okay with it?
Yes.
She feels confident, she's fine?
She's working very closely with Rita, so
She's in,
yeah,
okay.
So I guess you're up, John.
okay.
That's gonna be on our 30 days, isn't it? Yeah,
I have to check, I thought it was
because
within
it
the
was,
range.
it was, so we had election on the 11th, 13th was when we had the emergency meeting. And it would go to.
We could also meet for interviews at another meeting, we don't have to start every other Monday. Tuesday night,
Yeah,
we could come in for interviews and that.
We can either schedule a special meeting or we can vote to extend the interim treasurer for another 2 weeks. We can do that on April 7th.
Okay.
So there's multiple possibilities.
Okay.
I think I was thinking more, we'd add a couple of weeks onto her interim term to give us that time to make the decision.
Okay.
And stick with our Monday meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to the public hearing, just so the public is keeping up with the sequence of events that we're following with this. We had our second required public meeting for AES. They are being handled separately because AES is on a different time track than ARD. Our next scheduled meeting, which will be a special meeting, is Wednesday, April 2nd. After the public hearing closes, we have to allow a minimum of 7 days, not more than 14, to allow the public to submit a petition warrant article if they do not want the board or the town to purchase the building. If no petition is received by April 2nd, the board can hold a meeting and take a vote to acquire the building or not. If we receive a petition, then everything comes to a halt. 3 days are given to notify the school board that we've received a petition. They can make the decision whether or not they decide to continue with the agreement. If they do decide, then it goes on the 2026 ballot. If they decide at that point to close the agreement, we're done. And they can go about their business on how they want to handle the building.
The other part of that, John, is that in the purchase and sales agreement, there were some documents that we were requesting of them. Have you seen any of that?
You're talking about the first version of the purchase and sale. Those were not included in the one you signed. It's all included in the title search.
The titles.
Yeah.
That's right. I do remember that.
Excuse me, did I hear there was gonna be a special meeting on April 2nd?
You did,
Planning board meets here at 6:30 on that day.
okay? Thank you.
Want me to cancel it? I'm the vice chair now.
Well, the planning
no
board
chair.
meets
Well,
at
you can
six,
go to the
the planning
price
board
station.
meets at 6:30, we should do that meeting at like five
We can do an
or,
earlier meeting
yeah,
to avoid any conflict.
yeah. I would be, I love earlier meetings, let's get this, let's get it done.
You two get out for the early ones?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I get out at 4.
So if we schedule a meeting for 5 or 5:30, it's one agenda item,
Yeah,
yeah.
the acquisition, and then we can close the meeting and be out of this room till the planning. Anybody have any questions on that timeline that we're following?
No, I have a question on the petition. What are the requirements of a petition? How many people?
50 registered voters with the author of the petition. And what would happen if I received the petition? It would immediately be turned over to the supervisors of the checklist to verify all 50
Right.
signatures. And then it goes into the school board's hands. Do they want to continue?
Is it
Yeah.
names only or names and addresses on the petition?
It depends on the construction of the petition. Normally, it's name, address, hopefully a phone number.
I would, okay.
Yeah. They have to
Because
be.
without address. I mean,
Right.
you can't-
Normal, usual petition warrant articles, have a name, address, and phone number.
Okay.
And that's it for now. I will require a non-public after the meeting to give you an update.
All right. There's a number of things that need our signatures, and there's just a couple of them here that just needs mine. The first one is, the amendment
Can I do
to,
some other business real quick though?
oh,
Or do you want
but no,
business?
but
Sorry, and I'll be quick with it, just with the addition of new members on the board, and I know both of you have been involved. Diane has served on so many committees, but I just wanted to remind you guys that NHMA does trainings this time of year, and I wanna say, I think the one that I took last year was April or May. Maybe we will, as a board, I think we should get notices, but I'm not sure.
I sent it to Diane already.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah,
good,
as
yeah.
soon as they could resolve the portal thing,
Yeah,
because
once
when I
you-
went to sign up, it was, say,
Signed in.
and then you'll get
Yeah.
it,
It
it
took me a few
said,
emails.
and I can more serious,
But I finally signed up today.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, I was gonna say, it may be more difficult for you where you work, cause they usually are weekday courses, but they're really great to take. The other thing that I don't know if you guys had a chance to do, but it was one of the first things that I did, even though I had worked with the Board of Selectmen for 11 years, 12 years before I came on, was reviewing the Board of Selectmen rules of procedure, because a lot of times they're.
Yeah, I took a look at that,
It's
it's like
funny-
pretty broad, it bounces all over the place.
I think we all, as a board, might wanna take a look at,
Yeah,
maybe
the
redoing,
refresher.
yeah, redoing that even, maybe perking it up. I checked out, the
Our
town.
own, I looked
Our-
at,
our-
I looked in the procedure.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have our own internal,
Oh,
we
okay.
created this board, our,
Okay, yeah,
our
we should take a look at that.
select board rules of procedure. The town of Brentwood did a really, really great one. I was very impressed by theirs, where they really spelled out every RSA that governs
Yeah,
what we're responsible for and what we're not, and that is such a confusing thing when you come on this board, I think a lot of times, even myself when I ran. Did not realize, again, as many years as I had worked in municipal government, there were things that in my mind, the board was responsible for, that as I came on the board and started doing my research and going, I'm like, hey, we don't have any say. We don't have any say over that, and then other things, where I was like, oh, that's something we technically take care of, maybe someone else is taking care of, but it's actually our responsibility to delegate that or to authorize that, so there is so much.
yeah, the RSA's kind of bounced around, that's what I looked at.
Yeah,
But I haven't looked at, all right, I talked to John about what you have in here is, procedure on writing procedure.
yes,
Will we have to start?
yes.
And so I think they,
And all of that, I really do think we could benefit as a board to have a retreat day or half day. To delve into these things and to, you know, talk about our, you know, we all have individual goals and thoughts about what we'd like for the town, but. You know, it's helpful if we share those and then come to some consensus of, you know, some general goals, right? It's
Yeah.
always good to have a board have goals, you know, so that you are moving things forward for the town. And then to delve into our rules of procedure and make sure that we're operating with a rules of procedure that works.
sounds good to me. They
Yeah,
have to all look
it's
the same,
easy- it's
formatted the
easy.
same and.
And it's
That's what this
easier to
says.
make decisions throughout the year as things, as emergencies or things arise. If you always have that end goal in mind, it makes it easier to weigh, I have choice A or choice B. Oh, that's right, our end goal is to reach here. B does that more efficiently, or sometimes in the heat of the moment, when you forget what you're working towards, it's a lot easier, I think, to veer off and maybe go the wrong way, because it seems to satisfy an immediate need.
Yeah.
But it doesn't reach the bigger picture, you know?
Yeah.
So with that in mind.
That was really awkward. Everyone turned and looked at you, and you was.
With that in mind, do we want to look at a date in the somewhat near future to plan a retreat day or afternoon?
When is your training for NHMA? I think it would be good to let everyone know. Okay, So April, so maybe sometime in May would be a good, we could even schedule an additional. How do you guys feel about that?
2 day or 2 evenings, or what are we looking at? I mean, I don't care.
I could do it a weeknight.
Yeah,
I mean, we could do.
I'm very flexible in my office schedule too, so, but that, I know that may not be the case for everybody.
Yeah, so Mondays are my day off. The rest of the week I work Saturdays as well.
Oh,
So,
no,
yeah, so unfortunately, I have that Saturday day.
I'm sorry, I hate to be a pain here, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to be signed and we have a non-public. Can we work this out?
Oh, yeah, well, we can think about it.
Would you like to be here with us?
Thanks, huh?
Would you like to be here with us?
Doesn't want to hang
Well,
out.
yeah,
But also want to hang out with us, okay, that.
I'll write it down, I'll try to think of some dates for May, and maybe at our next meeting,
Yeah,
we could come and say I'm available.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Alrighty, let me just get through these signatures. We've
Yeah.
all seen these documents, they're part of our package here. The first one is the amendment to the paving contract with GMI. You folks had occasion to look through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on this, concerns? So it's gonna limit that to Bartlett Street.
Yeah.
But that puts me way under my default number, so.
What's that?
There you go, so,
He's selling.
yeah.
By eliminating that, I don't have to do anything else, that's it. So you vote yes on that, and we're all done. That's my vote.
I move that the board approve the amendment to the paving contract with GMI of 288 Pony Road in Belmont. This amendment shall take effect on March 24th. Today. I don't know if you need any information on that, John.
The scope of work did not change from the original contract, I just plucked it out and put it in the amendment.
Okay, limiting the are already. Yeah, and we're just gonna limit the paving to the Bartlett Street work area. So,
All other areas of the contract remain the same and enforced.
Mhm. Okay, was that a motion? I'm sorry. I'll second the motion.
all in favor?
Trisha,
Kathleen, I.
Diana,
Laura, I gotta get used to Maureen's not here.
Yeah, you saw the Plaza in Sanderson,
Yes.
it was entertaining. I tell the truth, as you were going down through this, you're going, oh, maybe. Was it just-
It's not, it is in the back of my mind, you know, with our audits, I wonder.
Well,
So just to give you a little background, that document you see comes out every year annually at the audit. The way I approach it is I assume that I have not heard anything, I'm filling it out on behalf of the board. But then you also have an opportunity to review it as you did over the weekend.
Yeah.
Make any changes that you feel would be necessary, and reflect the current status of the town. Changes can be made to the document, or if you're in agreement with the answers I've provided, you can go ahead and approve it and I'll forward it.
It looked good to me, I was in agreement.
Yeah.
yeah, Joe, with that document referenced other procedures, you have a procedure for X. Can we get those?
Yes, that was, one of them was the.
One of them you have to produce, but the other ones you just give a procedure for this, yes.
Yes, I can give you those.
Okay. That's my thing.
Yeah.
That is the Board of Selectmen audit question.
You'll be our procedure guru.
all right, I move that the board allow the chair to sign and attest to the accuracy of 2024 audit questionnaire from Plaza and Sanders.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Trisha,
Kathleen, I.
Diana,
Laura,
Spot on.
John,
Yes.
I'm guessing that they've given these audits to each of the employees as well, as they've done.
No, there are certain departments and boards that get them, not all the employees.
Right, I don't mean that.
Yeah, there are different entities within the town that get this, but not everyone.
Right.
Okay, the next is a purchase order from the fire chief concerning the Connex boxes that he's purchasing for the train for Chad's area.
Everything's frozen.
He's requesting $22,000 from the emergency services. We all saved.
And this is in accordance with previously approved.
Right.
spending.
Yeah.
All right, Brian.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Sure.
Brian.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks for letting us know you.
Watch those roads.
Yeah, thank you. I moved that the board, approve and sign this purchase order for the Connexes in the amount of $22,000. Funds to be drawn from emergency services revolving fund.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Tricia.
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
Laura.
So. And these are a couple of senior exemptions, the right term? Check. Let's get 2 boxes checked here.
So this is an elderly,
Oh, yeah, these are elderly exemptions, correct?
some of them are solar too, so you have to be careful. Would you like me to look at them in a?
Be nice if the weather's there.
Those forms for.
This is an elderly exemption.
Sorry, I do all that.
These are
Terrible, you get a terrible seat.
You are thinking that.
You're
gonna
she's
be
more
one
than a walker. She's our real person.
There's no, like,
Okay.
it's not like you have to sit in a certain seat, it's just, I think when someone comes in, you kind of organize it around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get used to it.
Yeah,
It's like an
I
experience.
shuffle these two down a bit, but
yeah, it was there, Kathleen was there,
All right,
Maureen.
I'm sorry I made every wait here. The first is an elderly exemption. Has been approved by Evan. This relates to tax map 107, block 12, lot 122. I move that the board agree with Evan and approve the exemption.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Trish, aye.
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
Laura, aye.
Scott, aye. The next is also elderly exemption. Sure. This one was also granted by Evan, and this relates to tax map 107, block 12, lot 112. I move that the board agree with Evan and grant the elderly exemption.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
Laura,
Scott, aye.
it's okay.
I'm
Bet you were
fading.
thinking.
I'm fading, no.
Right. This is an exemption that not granted. It relates to tax map 402. There is no block number, but it is lot 122. I move that the board agree with Evan and deny this elderly exemption.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
Laura.
Scott.
Oh.
The next one is a solar energy systems exemption. Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait. No, that's what happens when Brian leaves. I'm not.
I didn't hit you over there, I didn't even, yeah, I didn't even see it.
Wait tomorrow, I'll tell
You need to deliver on.
One by one. You like working?
They are. Delivering.
This is not cool in here.
Well.
You cold? I'm cold.
Just wait for you.
Okay, the last two are solar energy systems exemptions. They've both been approved. The first one is in the amount of $8,000. Tax map 109, block 11, lot 00. I move that the board agree with Evan and approve this solar energy system exemption.
Second the motion,
All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen, I.
Diane, I. Laura, I.
Scott, aye. Second solar energy system exemption. Is for tax map 102, lot 44. In the amount of $11,200 is granted, and that the board agree with Evan and approve the solar energy system exemption.
Second that motion,
All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen, I.
Diane, I.
Laura.
Scott, aye. Oh. It's backwards. Oh, sheds.
I wanna bring something up just because I don't wanna forget and I meant to bring it up on under business, other business. But I'm thinking it might be a good idea for us to impose some type of hiring freeze for the time being. I know that we're looking at the treasurer position coming up and the police chief, but like say one of Chad's highway guys quits tomorrow. I would say for right now, we should not be advertising any new positions without it coming to the board, especially where we're gonna be trying to work to save the COLAs and prevent layoffs. If somebody voluntarily parts from us, that it may be the way that we're able to do that if we don't jump to refill another position. I just think when we're scrutinizing the budgets the way we are right now, it would be a move that makes sense. I didn't know if you guys are.
Do you expect anybody would be posted a job without?
They typically do,
Yeah.
yeah, so right now, yeah, they do, when they hire, we approve their hiring, so the hiring, but to me. That
For what
would
it's saying,
be,
yes.
yes, but it's a tease to even go through the cost or to do that for somebody to hire and have them submit their. And then, you know, for us to be like, oh, we're not actually really hiring, like. I think that nothing should be advertised until we know what we're doing, we have this budget. under control and know where we're going with it. And that we're able to cut that 600,000 that
I think
we need to cut.
if that would get some to folks. Some of them are, let's say, their recommendations, but that's not what's for me.
So I don't know if we need to, if I need to make a motion on that. Or.
So I mean, who's gonna be enforce, is that? Let the department heads know?
Yeah.
Okay,
John doesn't
That's
have
what I'm-
John.
okay.
John,
Okay.
sorry, community event,
Okay.
those things for us. And just so you know, also, like, if they were proposing a new position, then we would approve that, you know. Yes, kind of the way those things lie with us.
And even with a hiring freeze, if there was a pivotal position that all of a sudden there was a vacancy and, you know, Chad up and retired tomorrow, and we were like, we need a room.
Yeah.
It's still, but it would come to us, it would see like somebody,
right?
a department wouldn't just be advertising the position and, you know, making those.
If they come here,
decisions.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you're counting on close family members' allegiance to prevent that, you know. Don't let them do it. Influence, I'm sorry.
I will make a motion that we instate a hiring freeze.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor,
Tricia, I, Kathleen, I,
Diana, I.
Laura.
Scott, aye. Next, Tim.
I just want to put on record that I don't take that decision lightly, and I know that it will
absolutely.
really negatively impact the abilities of our departments.
So we have 3 members here. These are oaths of office. They have been appointed. We need to.
Oh, we need to appoint for the planning board, right? Planning board?
The first is Ryan Beaudry.
Yeah.
As a member of the planning board for 3 years. Here, let me go through these. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but the first is, we appointed our signatures, Ryan Beaudry to be a member of the planning board for a term of 3 years expiring on April 30th, 2028. The next is Chad. As an alternate member of the
yeah.
planning board for 3 years expiring April 30th, 2028. And the last one is Joanna Rush.
Yeah.
Also as a member of the planning board for a term of 3 years expiring on 4/30/2028.
Yeah.
I moved it to the board.
So do you wanna do that, because I need to run the next meeting, I'll admit I can't. Right,
You have to run the next meeting.
yeah, because it's ours,
You have to make the.
Oh, until they,
until we
They have
didn't
to
appoint anybody,
assign
anything,
positions.
so right now, I'm the vice chair,
You're
and
the vice.
Diane is no longer.
so if
the
we
chair.
sign that appointing.
We're just appointing.
Can't they
to the board.
hold off?
But you're appointing me as an alternate, so I'm no
Right,
longer.
that would be, we can look, take since.
But they'll hold them at the planning board,
We're
we
just
could do
doing
it
it
because the board hasn't appointed it. So if we delay it,
Once
it's
we sign
Well,
that,
just me.
once we sign appointed by. Okay, can we?
So we
When's
can vote-
when's the planning board meeting?
Usually they make the decisions at the committee and board level before we say we're appointing them.
So, go ahead.
What I would recommend is we hold off on that until next meeting. That'll allow Chad to open up a posted meeting. You can reorg the board at that time. Then at our meeting on the 7th, you can sign his change to alternate.
Can we post-date his to when's the date of the meeting for the planning board?
April 2nd.
So why can't we make it
I think,
effective April 3rd?
absolutely,
Because,
or just hold mine off and do everybody.
Well, that's what I'm
else.
saying, yeah, the other two, but just.
this would be
effective
effective,
April
it
3rd.
won't be effective until April 30th. Because it says it expires on April 30th, 2028, so.
Right, they expire, and then I think it's assumed it's.
It's active once
Active
you
when
it's
appoint.
Okay.
So if we have. So there's 3 signatures recorded, if 2 people sign, we hold 1 signature till their meeting. After the meeting, could she sign and then we're done? And then they're officially appointed and sworn in?
Take care of that.
Exactly.
If we made it effective April third,
Yeah.
like we could do them all tonight, do those two, and Chad's make his effective April third.
Yeah.
So he's still a member on
Not
April
the same
second.
place on you.
I'm sorry, when is your meeting?
I think it's the first weekend, the first Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I think it's April second, I believe.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right,
that's
we're
right,
meeting
April 2nd.
Wednesday. So if you make this effective April third,
Oh, right, that date at the bottom,
date at the bottom.
yes.
Yeah. Then you can all sign it tonight.
Yeah.
And everybody else can be members and then we can, because one of those alternates is gonna be chairman. Obviously.
Date that April third.
I'll just add for public record, these are non-paying positions that would not go against what
Oh,
we
they're all
just.
gonna
They're all- Well, you know, we just talked about hiring freeze, I don't want people to be confused out there.
Yeah.
Now
So,
everybody
We
understands.
have a motion on all three.
Did we make an, did you make
Yes.
a motion?
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
On all three?
Yes, on all three.
All in favor?
Trish, on all three.
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
And Maura.
Scott,
Try to make that hard,
oh, yeah.
but I didn't wanna make that, I'm really not.
I'm lagging too, so I get it.
and I'm yes.
Yes.
Things here, we have signatures. The first is on-call firefighter. It's actually a move down. This person is volunteered to take a lesser position. It's right here. Person has resigned from her EMS lieutenant position, and she's stepping down to be a per diem firefighter. Do you folks happen to see this in the package?
That was not a new.
Yeah, because I've been
She's-
thinking about that with our earlier discussion.
But to me,
How
it
does
looked
that
like
fit in, yeah.
she's already employed, she's been
Right,
executive,
yeah.
so I would
Right,
say
yeah.
it's. And even with the hiring freeze, we still have the authority, so I was okay.
So these two oaths for Brian Baldry and Joanna Rush, we can put tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're good with those dates, I'm telling you.
You're right on it.
It's the medical device. It's a medical device person you need.
Details, okay, that makes sense. Can I go ahead and make a motion on,
Go ahead.
make a motion that we accept, you know, what's the reports. Change from. Oh,
EMS coordinator, right?
EMS coordinator, is that what you call it? And change to for being firefighter, Aaron. Effective March 31st.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen, I.
Diana,
Maura.
And Scott,
Times that, so I get that back to you.
aye. There.
Okay. Yes, take the paperwork out of them, yes, the folder.
Not quite done, no. For signing anything else. Turn my phone.
Oh, I'm ready.
Do we have other?
Laura, gonna carry more of those magazines you're getting, you will get them electronically going forward.
Oh, okay, it's great.
We got paper copies, so I wanted to introduce you to the.
To put them in the little. The
Yeah.
names there, what, the
Just-
mailbox.
Every once in a while, we do, if they do like movies, or then the mailboxes inside. It's. What was it?
All right. The first is our meeting minutes from March 10th, 2025. Folks had a chance to review them.
Yes, and it's not noted on here, but we also had March 13th minutes. For the treasurers,
Yeah.
that's not noted on the agenda. I just want to make sure you have.
And you still haven't moved the consent calendar yet, just as a
Right,
reminder.
right, well, he jumped ahead to the minutes, so I didn't,
You want to get it done.
What's the next thing in the, sorry.
yeah, it's okay.
Here's Maureen. Maureen's the fitness.
It's my first night, so.
She's doing her best to fill the position.
You can do it all.
Yeah, all right, so, well, we're getting this private, so we can go to the
No.
consent calendar.
Go ahead if you want.
Okay, all right, I move motion that we accept, ratify the consent calendar of March 24th, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen, I.
Diane, I.
Laura, I.
And Scott, aye.
Do we have to do the minutes separately?
You can list public minutes 310 and 313.
I make a motion that we accept the public hearing, public meeting minutes of March 10th and March 13th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
And then, something,
Was there something you thought wasn't right?
okay, I didn't realize that was the 13th. No,
You-
I sent it.
That, okay,
Go ahead. Did someone second?
Yes, I did.
Scott,
Trish, I.
Kathleen, I.
So we abstained because we weren't here.
Oh,
We were here.
Tentatively accept them if you want.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I was here.
if you're not present at a meeting, you can still vote. There's nothing that says you can't vote on separate meetings. Most people abstain because they're like, I don't know what happened in that meeting, so why am I gonna vote on it? But like sometimes there may be a shortage, or somebody could be ill and for whatever reason you only have. And in order to make that majority, so
Right.
it's up to you, but there's
Yes,
nothing
yes.
saying you
Yeah.
can't vote.
Yeah.
So, okay.
You know, yes.
Yeah, I, Diane, I.
Laura, I.
Sorry.
No worries. A lot.
Not at this meeting.
So I'm gonna cross out.
Oh,
Was it, I didn't even, I just looked for my name, didn't make note of the other names.
On the signature page,
Yeah,
I just crossed them out.
while we're waiting on that, in the manifest, 107, there was NHRS fees for September, October, and January. John, do you know if Rita or Veronica have gone ahead and done a letter to NHRS asking for the penalties to be waived? Because you can do
I don't know that specifically, I know Rita has been on the phone with them quite a bit, working through all of this.
So if you'll make sure, because if he has a written, well, we can have it just us, they won't take it verbally. They more than likely.
I thought I heard her saying that they were giving us a grace period on this, so there may not be fees involved, but I'll ask her.
And then on manifest 95, there was a Gale engineering charge of $4,431.56. Is that one that requires a purchase order?
I have to go back and look.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you.
Which one was that on?
Manifest 95.
So there were two in question here.
Yeah, but they, I don't think it's not gonna change the manifest, it's just more procedural. Background procedural things. If there should be a PO for the 95, you know, we could as a board say, well, we don't wanna approve that manifest because we didn't, you know, make a motion on that item. That's the only thing.
Okay,
But being under 5,000, I'd be the only one signing that anyway.
Is it 5,000?
Yes.
Okay, well, then there we go.
He's good to go.
Yeah.
We're in the clear.
I move that the board approve ACH manifest numbers 90, 91, 92, 93, 95, 98, 102, 103, and 107.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Trish, I,
Kathleen,
Diana,
Laura,
Scott, aye.
he continues to steal my job.
Oh, do you want, what did you do it? Do it. It's just, I'm not sure how Maureen migrated to that over the years, but she had, go ahead.
I make motion that we approve check manifest batches 96, 97, 99, 100, 101, and 106, and non-check manifest number 105.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Trish, I,
Kathleen,
Diana,
Laura, I.
And Scott, aye.
and I make a motion that we approve the town payroll manifest of March 20th, 2025.
I will second that.
Trish,
All in favor?
Trish, I,
Kathleen,
Diana,
Laura,
that's it for consent calendar minutes.
Thanks, Trish.
so now we need a motion going to non-public.
Be real quick, before we do that, that was a part of our package tonight.
yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong, Diane, most of this came from your hand.
yeah.
Yours, Mike helped you, but this was, did anyone
Oh,
else
this, I
help?
put this, I put this together.
Oh,
Yeah, so I had done this a few years ago, and it was kind of dead on the rock. So what I'd like to do, so looking at.
First, for the public record, announce what we are talking about, so yes, people are
Okay.
listening. will understand.
Yeah, what we're currently discussing is a draft copy of the town of Allenstown's procedure that was written to define how we're going to develop, control, and maintain documentation. Before we start doing it, we need to have the procedure to do it. So I put this together a few years ago, and its intent is so that we have a consistent method of numbering, controlling, reviewing, approving, and storing and maintaining and revising town documents. So some RSA's will say, oh, the town should have a procedure for X or a policy or whatever. So this, so that we can get started, is a consistent way, and I've got templates that go along with this. And I've also got logs done for as we issue numbers and, you know, the different types of documents, so we take a look at some point in these years before the next meeting, and before the next meeting, I wanna review this with John, like in detail, because he'll have a pretty strong hand as to, you know, where these get stored and who takes them out and who can revise them and stuff like that, so the intent is to, so we'll have a consistent method for controlling our documents and make sure that because of everybody involved, it doesn't become, overly burdensome.
Yeah.
Us, right, so it adds value, but doesn't, tie our hands and make it so complicated, because I'm used to way more complicated stuff than this, but this is like, this is really, a little diluted, and I think it's appropriate for what we need to do.
Yeah, and then whenever we do need to make revisions or with new people coming in on board, it covers
Exactly,
that.
that's
Which
gonna
I
be,
think is a big
Yeah.
question a lot of times when people are like, this is.
so this is an example of, issuing the numbers, who was it issued to, and this is like the approval signatures. Depending on the type of document, we may need, the majority of the board, we may only need one board member.
Yeah.
Because depending on what its intended purpose, it might be like, the town administrator is gonna sign this and like one board of selectmen member so that we know what's going on. But we don't want like 5 people to have to sign everything,
Yeah.
especially if it's a work instruction. Like John had, Michael Merrill work instruction on the, using setting up the owl, which is now obsolete, but so that's a work instruction, so work instruction, that doesn't have to come here.
Yeah.
Here's who wrote it, here's how you do it, you're done.
Yeah, I like that, putting it in a more, accessible document
And-
tangible, because I think we have that, but it's kind of just.
Well, and this,
Yeah,
this,
right.
everything will be formatted the same way, like the first section is always gonna be the overview, what's the purpose, what's the scope? Why do we even have this document? Glossary, responsibilities, who's supposed to implement it, and then you get into, are there any records generated from this procedure, cause there must, like the oath, that's a record.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so we can work on, all oaths, right, so I'll give that form a number and it'll be associated with the procedure and, the stuff that we talked about, it's like.
It makes things way more organized and efficient. moving
So
forward.
like whoever replaces us.
Yeah, they can come.
Will have an easier
Yeah.
life than we do,
Yes.
right, so
I like it.
like, John and I have had this conversation.
Yeah.
You really do documentation for the next person coming along, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's inefficient, there's time loss, it's inconsistent,
Yeah.
people get frustrated, so. I agree.
Thank you, Diane, you
Yeah.
worked on that for a long time, right?
Yeah, it was a while ago, but yeah, I
I
did,
remember.
I worked on it a while
Yeah.
ago, and it wasn't intended to control every piece of paper that we.
Yes.
That was the fear.
Do you have a non-public? I don't think we can take long,
Oh.
John has some information for us.
Yep.
Okay.
I move that we enter into non-public session in accordance with the provisions of New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3. Part 2L at 8:34 p.m.
Good night.
I'll second
Good night.
that.
All in favor?
For trying.
Kathleen, I.
Johnny and I?
Laura, I.
Scott, aye.
Amy, Jonathan? Yes, please.
I move that we seal the minutes of our non-public meeting as they may adversely affect somebody not a member of this.
I think that's the wrong reason, I think it's because of
Yeah.
legal discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not picking on you.
That's the only-
Thinking for a second there.
Yeah, to know if it's,
I don't know what.
You can vote to seal the minutes.
Yeah,
We don't have to say why.
okay,
Okay.
all right, let me read you the motion.
Well, really simplify.
Because as I said, well, it's really not a
Yeah.
person, it's an entity that might affect. The ratings of my voting. I move that we seal the minutes of our non-meeting.
Second, what motion?
All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen, Diane, Laura.
Scott, aye.
Do have a question from the board. I was approached on whether the board would be interested in purchasing title insurance for the AES transaction. That amount would be $6,418 to come out of the budgeted line in the default budget for AES.
So moved.
I second that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We had forgotten that.
The old trick.
All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen,
Diane,
Laura, I.
And Scott, aye.
We use it all the time on Diane on planning boards. I don't think she ever heard anyone make a motion. She does. So moved.
What was that again, Tony? And as soon as it comes out. It's over.
That's
All right,
Sure.
I move that we
Adjourn.
adjourn our meeting
Keep talking.
at 8:50 p.m.
Second motion,
All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen,
Diane,
Laura, I.
See, all of a sudden we're taking it.
Yeah.
You want to hand me? Craving asshole?